A modern purchase can feel almost weightless. A thumbprint, a saved card, a familiar app, a small confirmation sound. The transaction disappears into routine, like turning on a faucet. That familiarity can hide the fact that convenience is not a single feature, it's an entire system. Payment rails, pricing design, subscriptions, delivery logistics, and short-term credit, all layered together until the final act looks simple. Most of the time, the system is discussed as technology. Faster checkout, fewer steps, less friction. But it behaves more like infrastructure. It quietly sets terms, distributes costs, and decides who carries which burdens without needing to announce it itself. The strange part is not that the system exists. The strange part is how rarely it has to explain itself. This system shows up in small, ordinary moments. A meal ordered for delivery costs more than the menu price. There's a delivery fee, a service fee, maybe another local fee, plus tip. The restaurant receives the order through a platform that takes its own percentage. The driver is paid through yet another formula that is not printed on the receipt. A streaming subscription renews at midnight. A free trial converts into a monthly charge. A membership bundles shipping, media, and perks into a single number that feels easier to accept because it's no longer attached to any single purchase. The money moves, but the decision that started it might be weeks old. A ticket, a hotel room, a ride, a cart of household basics. The first price seen is often not the final price. The total appears later after time has been invested, after the comparison shopping part of the brain has already done its work. Regulators have a name for the practice of revealing mandatory fees late in the process because it changes behavior in predictable ways. People accept these structures for the same reason the structures were built. They reduce effort. They compress tasks, searching, paying, waiting into fewer moments with fewer chances to reconsider. Convenience becomes less like a luxury and more like the baseline. Under the surface, convenience is powered by a set of tolls. Start with the basic act of paying. Card payments feel instantaneous, but they are a coordinated handoff between banks, card networks, processors, and merchant systems. For the merchant, it's not free. In the United States, the combined cost of card acceptance, interchange, network fees, and processing has become a major line item at national scale. One industry analysis estimated US merchants paid over $236 billion in card-related fees in 2024. That number matters because it reveals the incentive. When a fee is tied to transaction volume, the system is naturally drawn toward more swipes, more taps, more checkouts. If a purchase can be moved from cash to card, from in-store to online, from monthly to recurring, the fee engine has more surface area. Now add platforms. Delivery apps don't just provide software. They manage discovery, payment, dispatch, customer support, and a kind of outsourced demand. In exchange, they often charge restaurants commissions that can land in a range that restaurant owners routinely describe as painful, commonly around 15% to 30%, depending on the arrangement and market rules. The customer sees convenience as a service. The restaurant experiences it as a cost of access. The platform experiences it as a percentage of flow. Subscriptions extend this logic in time. Instead of competing for a single purchase, the business competes to become the default. Once something is a default, revenue becomes less dependent on repeated decisions and more dependent on friction and cancellation. The Federal Trade Commission has spent years describing negative option arrangements, offers where inaction becomes consent to keep paying. And in October 2024, it finalized a click-to-cancel rule intended to require cancellation to be as easy as sign-up. But even the rules around convenience can be unstable. In July 2025, an appeals court blocked that FTC rule, at least temporarily, on procedural grounds. Finally, add short-term credit designed to feel a convenience rather than borrowing. Buy now, pay later products turn one purchase into multiple smaller payments, often presented at checkout as a simple alternative. The CFPB has reported that BNPL users tend to be more active users of other credit products, and that they show higher indicators of financial distress than non-users in several measures the Bureau tracks. Each layer, card rails, platform commissions, subscriptions, short-term credit, takes a small share or creates a small drift. No single step looks dramatic. The persistence comes from how smoothly the parts reinforce one another. The invisibility is not accidental. It's partly psychological, partly architectural. First, the pain of paying changes depending on the payment mechanism. Behavioral research has found that when payments are delayed, or when the act of paying is less vivid, past spending is less likely to feel depleting in the moment. In one classic paper in the Journal of Consumer Research, Dilip Soman showed that payment mechanisms affect recall and the felt immediacy of payment, which in turn changes how strongly past payments reduce future purchase intention. Cards and one-click checkouts don't just move money faster, they change how payment is experienced. It becomes background. Second, fees are often designed to be cognitively small. A percentage feels abstract. A $2.99 service fee can look minor next to a $40 total, even if the same fee repeated across a month would feel different. When costs are split into components, each component can appear easier to accept than a single larger number. That's one reason all-in pricing has become a policy focus. The FTC's junk fees initiatives are aimed less at banning fees outright and more at requiring that mandatory fees be shown up front, because hidden or late disclosed fees reliably distort comparison shopping. In the FTC's final rule focused on ticketing and short-term lodging, the agency emphasized that consumers spend massive amounts of time trying to find the real total price. Third, convenience shifts decision points earlier in time. Auto-renewal means the decision is made once, but the payment happens many times. Saved payment methods mean the decision to store credentials is separate from the decision to buy. Delivery apps mean the decision to delegate effort is separate from the decision to accept the markups that delegation can require. The system stays invisible because the mind experiences it as a series of small, unrelated choices. The system functions as a single pipeline. At scale, small tolls become a structural feature of the economy. When merchants pay more to accept payments, those costs don't remain isolated in a back office. They blend into pricing, staffing decisions, and product mix. When restaurants pay commissions to reach customers where customers already are, the commission behaves like rent for digital foot traffic. When subscriptions become defaults, the market shifts away from episodic buying toward continuous billing. When short-term credit becomes a normal checkout option, revenue can be pulled forward in time and repayment risk is distributed elsewhere. Normalization happens because these systems solve real problems. Digital payments reduce handling costs and enable e-commerce. Delivery platforms coordinate supply and demand in dense cities and spread out suburbs alike. Subscriptions stabilize revenue and fund large content libraries. BNPL can broaden access for people who prefer smaller installments. But the benefits are not evenly distributed. The structural winners tend to be entities that sit closest to the flow itself. Payment networks, issuing banks, processors, large platforms, and financial firms that can package consumer cash flows into investable assets. When the fee is a percentage, scale is not just an advantage, it is the business model. The more universal convenience becomes, the less optional its costs feel. At that point, convenience stops being a premium feature and starts resembling a tax paid to participate in normal life, except the rates are set contractually rather than legislatively. The cost of convenience is rarely a single charge. It's the quiet accumulation of percentages, renewal cycles, and design choices that treat friction as a problem to be engineered away. In older systems, cost was often attached to a visible moment: handing over cash, signing a receipt, watching a meter. In the newer system, cost is often distributed. Some of it appears as a fee, some as a markup, some as a monthly line item, some as a delayed payment, some as a margin absorbed by a business that has little room to absorb anything. That distribution is why the system can remain familiar and misunderstood at the same time. It feels like ease. It behaves like infrastructure. It persists because it aligns incentives across many different players, even when no single player is fully in control. Convenience, in the end, is not free or expensive in any simple way. It's priced through pathways that rarely look like prices, until someone slows down long enough to notice where the money actually travels.